Starting is always it's the hardest part for me.
Do you know my name?
Oh, that's a good way to start. Yeah, what's your name? No, I'm joking. It says it. I think I saw it on Instagram. It's Lexanie, right?
Lexanie Flaquér.
Lexanie
You could,
Flaquér. You want me to say it with the accent and everything? For this
sí,
episode, we have
Flaquér.
Lexanie Angel Flaquer in el episode. What if this whole episode was just in Spanish? That would be fun. Can you
I
speak
could
Spanish?
probably. Sí, yo puedo hablar español.
Bien, pero bien o un poquito.
Te entiendo y puedo hablar. Estoy bien.
Sí, sí. ¿Tú crees que tú hablas español mejor que yo?
No creo en eso, pero recently yo aprendí a hablar español más fluently, so it's gonna be a
Fluently.
mix.
¿Qué significa eso? What is that? ¿Qué es fluently?
I'm sorry, I can't do this. I can't.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 137 of the Empty Opinions podcast with your host, Eladio Polanco. And for this very special episode, we have a very special guest. It is a Zoom episode, but it just had to be done this way because I wanted to get this guest on the podcast. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck your perfectionism. You know what I mean? The audio quality. Fuck all that. You know what I mean? It's just about the conversation and the guest that we're having on. And I'm just going to let her introduce herself. For this episode, we have...
Lexanie Flaquér. Hello, everybody from Florida.
From Florida, reporting from Florida, the craziest state in the U.S., probably. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm off 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
good.
feeling good.
That's good. A lot of energy. That's great for a podcast episode. Can I call you Lex? Or is that disrespectful?
Yeah. Or Lexa.
Lexa. Okay, I'll call you Lexa just to shorten it. Lexa, you're doing good. You just had 2 cups of coffee and now you're doing a podcast. Let's just talk about how I even came across you to even have you on the podcast. And, I just followed, because I was telling you this, because we talked before we did the episode, how, like, by having Cameo on as my co-host before she abandoned me. Can you believe that? No.
Oh my God.
I'm joking. She just has to go. She had to go to college. Yeah, because of having her on the podcast, it opened my eyes to a lot of the art community and a lot of artistic folks that if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have known. And that's how I came across you, because you are kind of involved in the Philly art scene in a way. You know a lot of people in the Philly art scene, which is why I even thought you lived in Philly in the first place. And we're just talking. Many people think I live in Philly. Then we're just talking. It's like, we're having our, getting acquainted. Like, let's get everything set up. And I think I bring up the fact is like, oh, I can drive you if you want. It's like, and then you were like, oh, shit. Okay.
This has happened one too many times.
Yeah, that's funny. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that just kind of shows, I guess, how tied you are into the Philly art scene. That's pretty funny. People keep thinking that.
It's a big world.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so beautiful to connect with different scenes and underground, like, artists all around the world. It's a beautiful thing.
So that's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
The world's so small now.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, for sure. That's crazy. Yeah, the fact that we're even doing this episode shows that. But I guess where do I even begin? So let's just get to know you a little bit more. I would also be getting to know you a little bit more. Mm-hmm. We have Lexa, you know what I mean, all the way from Florida. She takes great pictures. She's very artistic. I guess let's talk about, because I thought about this. This is the one question I plan to ask you, and it's the meaning of your Instagram name. I think this is going to open up the whole episode. Is going to create a great conversation for everything that you kind of stand for. So what does your Instagram name stand for? And I can't even pronounce it. It's one of those. Okay, do you have it memorized?
Yeah, of course. Apokaradokias.
Apokaradokias.
Okay. Yes, and it is actually a word from the Bible. I'm not going to say I'm religious or anything. But it's a beautiful word that describes the kind of faith that we need to have in order to manifest or create what we want in the world. So
Okay.
it's the three parts literally mean like apo means to turn away, gara, which is face, and then dokia is like without distractions, and then faith. I'm not sure if it's apo or dokia that means that, but basically to just focus forward, no distractions, full faith, head on.
Wow. That's a great
Yeah,
fucking Instagram name. It's better than fucking
it's
Eladio
so
Talks. I'll tell you
beautiful.
that much.
So, before that, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
bitch living her best life. So
Wait, that was it. That was it. Oh,
yeah,
that's
bitch living
also
her best life.
that's also a great name, just in a different, slightly different way. But listen, it all makes sense. Okay, so I would say that's kind of your mission statement, I guess, if you could put it that way. Just that name
Yes,
alone, right? Just going in your path and accomplishing what you need to, or what you want to be done, right? And what would that be?
yes.
Let's talk about that, I guess, too.
My ultimate goal.
Yeah, like if you have your path that you're trying to follow, what is that path leading you down?
So it's not too complicated, but
The more
it's
complicated, the better.
definitely,
You know what I mean? We got
it's,
many minutes to talk about this.
it's more, it's a little undefined because I could just say that I want to create a financial success or abundance within my creative abilities,
Right.
but I feel like it's a lot deeper than that, what I
Mm.
want to create in the world, because I feel that I have this gift of being able to express myself through different mediums. And with that, I like to inspire. And
Mm. Okay.
it's almost my goal is the truth. My
Truth.
goal is advancement. My goal is evolution. And whoever I touch and meet along that way and journey is what brings me happiness
Hmm.
and fulfillment, to inspire others to live in truth, advancement, and evolution, physically, mentally, and spiritually,
Wow.
through whatever creative medium that they have.
That's Yeah, that's a big goal, I would say. And I love when people have big goals, because that just means, I don't know, because I think about this a lot with like the people I meet and the people I get along with. Like the bigger their goals are, or the more ambitious they are, I feel like the the easier it is to focus on your path, because it's not like in A to B where like, oh, I do this and then I get this in return and then that's it, because then the goal would be completed very easily, right? Like I think about
Yeah,
the way I relate that would be like, let's say my parents wanted me to be a lawyer, right? And I never really liked that idea because it was too easy in terms of, when you're following a law degree, you just read these texts, you know what I mean? Finish this homework, get this grade, get this job, you
like
know,
point A to point B.
very simple. Yeah, there's no, it's like almost planned. It's like if you just follow this guideline, follow this format, you know what I mean? You'll become a lawyer. No
Yes,
problem. But
yes.
I decided to do whatever the fuck it is I'm doing, which I'm still
Bec-
like, you know what I mean, struggling to define, which I have to soon for my
yes.
parents, because they're like, "What the fuck are you doing in life?" And I'm like, I'm trying to do it. And
I'm
then
doing
yeah,
something.
I'm doing something creative and something that I feel like is actually way more fulfilling, I guess, because like I said, it's not so dry, so cut and dry.
Yeah,
It sounds kind of
yes,
similar. That's why, like, when I hear you say what you're saying, somebody could hear that and say, "Oh, that's too vague. That doesn't even, like, what does that even mean?" But you know what that means. You know what I mean? Like, you know what you're trying to achieve, and even if it can become somewhat complex to other people, I do like that, because that just means you have a lot of room to do what you need to do.
yes. And I can kind of see that you're in touch with your feminine side,
Oh
because
well, okay, thank you.
the feminine way of doing things is creative,
Yeah.
random, and the masculine is point A, point B, square.
Well,
Feminine is
okay.
circle,
This is interesting that you're
random.
pointing out my feminine energy, because I would say this episode is up to a very like high level conversation, and I'm about to like bring it down to like a brain men talk,
Ooh.
because that, well, I'm just saying, because you say, oh, you have that feminine energy, which is nice, but I feel like, okay, I don't want to get, see, this is the problem. You bring up something and my mind goes so to a certain place. Like I was just gonna bring up the fact that I have gotten that a lot in my life, and I don't. That's good, but it's definitely a thing. You know what I mean when I'm talking to women. Does that make sense?
I hear
Do you
you.
see what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely like I've noticed that about myself, and I think it has to do with the fact that I mainly grew up with women. I was raised by women. There was men in my life, but there weren't too much. You know what I mean in my life. Like everything I've learned, from lessons to experiences, has always been around women. So I think that makes sense. This is why I guess tapped into that feminine energy.
The
But I would,
creative
yeah, but
youngness.
I just think with okay, we're getting a little too distracted because I was just about to say like what women like and don't like and how feminine energy sometimes can put women off. Let's move on from that and go back to what you were saying. So you said I have feminine energy in terms of like me not wanting to do point A to point B, right? That's what you brought up.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I relate to that so much.
yeah, right, because I feel like for me it's also about, like I mentioned before, having the room. You know what I mean, to operate and do what you need to. I don't like feeling like in a box almost, like, oh, you have to do this way. Like I
Exactly. Well,
reject, like I say this, I've been saying this a lot recently, but like structure in anything, I'm against. I'm against structure with
oh,
anything because I feel like structure is only good, I guess, if you want to get started with something, but ultimately it creates, what's the word, homogeny or hegemony, like just everybody making the same shit. You know what I mean? Because like
oh,
you see books like what's the book? It's like Save the Cat. Do you know about that book?
no.
It's like a screenplay book where they give you like the very basic elements of a screenplay. And ever since I heard it, I'm like, nah, fuck that. Because I feel like then everybody starts at the same place. Like you're not allowed to make something unique. You have to do like, it's like when I'm making a short film, let's say, which I've done, where they say, oh, you need to use these shots. Like there's these 5 shots that you need to do, and that's what makes a film or whatever. It's like you have to do this or you have to do that. And I've always, even in life in general, like rebelled against that shit because it's like, no, like what are you talking about? Like if to me this is what feels right. I'm not gonna ditch that for like this thing that everybody can do if you follow it. You know what I'm saying? Like it removes the uniqueness from
Yes.
people. You know?
Yeah, like trying to create a blueprint for a way of
Yes.
being.
Yes.
I'm not here for blueprints. I'm
No.
here for infinite creative.
Yeah.
You can do anything, any type of way. You can live your life however you want. You can create however you want. Your
Exactly.
process is unique to you. Your blessings are unique to you. Your path is unique to you. Your lessons are unique to you.
Yeah.
There's no blueprint. It's all up to you and what feels good and what is working for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it also goes with what you were talking about earlier with what when you're trying to inspire people, or I don't know if you mentioned here, but we kind of talked about it before when we talked. But just like you want people to do to almost like go above with certain things in terms of like what you can do in your life, like you were just saying. And I feel like all the structure that's set up around us in society keeps people from reaching a higher level. You know what I mean? Like it keeps them like, just do this, wake up, I don't know, you know what I mean? Go to Dunkin' Donuts, go to your job, maybe hang out at the bar, go home, and then you're stuck in that loop when you can
It's
do
getting
some.
old.
Yeah, it gets old when you can do so much more, but it's actually kind of hard to get people to break out of that cycle because everybody else is doing it.
Yep. And then when you're not doing what everyone else is doing, you get outcasted or
Right.
you look like you're not doing enough or you seem weird or
Yeah.
you're not moving right to them.
Yeah.
It's this is I believe we are in the world of infinite possibilities and we can create
Mm.
any way of being. And yes, life is about struggle and work and action, but I feel like what we're living through now is a pivotal moment where we're going to
Mm.
see change and a leveling almost.
Interesting. So do you think?
You understand?
Yeah, that makes sense. Would you say that actually makes a lot of sense considering this general vibe that I've been feeling, where like with all the wild shit that's happening in the world, I feel like you can see it 2 ways, and I think you just helped me see it from another perspective. Like the way that I was thinking about it was like, if you see it as at a surface, it could be like, or in a pessimistic way, it could be like, oh, the world is ending. You see all the shit that's happening. Oh, so much crazy shit is happening. You know what I mean? Like the crazy, the crazy weather. Like here in Philly, there's like car accidents all the time now. It's crazy. Just there's a general like wild
Mm.
energy happening. But you can also see it the way you're saying, which is it just could be a leveling where like shit is rough right now because it's gonna get better. Right? You know what I mean? Like
Yes. Chaos and then order.
right. Like maybe there's been like a certain regime or a certain way of things that have been the same way for so long. You do kind of need,
Too long.
you know what I mean, for it to go to shit before, like you're saying, like chaos before order. Like, if everything, like nothing can change if it doesn't go through like something bad, right? Like even us as humans, when we learn a lesson, when we really truly learn a lesson, it's because something bad that has happened that made us
Yeah.
learn that lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like almost like the land is being plowed for new crops to be grown.
Right. Yeah, I love all these analogies. We're coming up with great analogies for what we're trying to say. Yeah, yeah.
Actually, that's crazy because I just learned the law of analogy states that one thing may be understand when compared to others. So I think
Right.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful.
Analogies are definitely they're very useful. I try to do them sometimes
It's huge.
and they don't go well sometimes. Like sometimes I come up with one and it just makes absolutely no fucking sense. And then it's just like, okay, well, I just gonna have to like move on, and we're like, what? And I'm like, I'm trying to explain it, and people are like, nah, bruh, this is not it. And then I just gonna have to move on. But I
Like that
think
one analogy is like, you ever seen a tree fall twice? No, get off, brush it off, you're good.
what? I've never heard that one. Yeah, that
It's
sounds
like
like one.
trending right
Yeah,
now.
that sounds like one I would come up with because that shit makes absolutely no sense. Um, but yes, this is all kind of within your mission statement, I would say, right? With what you're trying to achieve through all the mediums that you're involved in. I guess I wanted. This is something I'm curious about with you specifically. We were talking about outcasts earlier, and did you feel like an outcast growing up, like having these views and feeling the way that you feel about the world?
I have always been an outcast.
Hmm.
I've always been bullied, but then at the same time, I always did whatever I wanted. So in middle school, I was wearing tutus, dressing up in crazy outfits,
Oh
wearing
wow.
crazy jewelry, and everybody around me was like wearing, Ed Hardy or not Ed Hardy, Guy, like those
Yeah,
fishing
yeah, I know what you're
shirts and
saying. Yeah,
cargo
yeah, yeah.
pants.
Right,
And then
right.
the girls would wear like a white t-shirt and jeans. And I was like this one girl with
It stood
crazy,
out.
colorful
Yeah.
outfits getting bullied, but still showing up the next day in her outfits. Like,
Hmm.
it, never had a friend group, never felt like I belonged to a group.
Hmm.
I ended up hanging out with the skaters and the BMX kids in high school because
Yeah.
they were the outcasts.
Right.
Yeah, I never felt a
Yeah.
part of somebody, of
That's
some group.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Even just that in itself, the way you're describing it is interesting. But I would say since I'm Dominican or Hispanic, if you just want to broaden it, there's definitely even more of a specific way you're supposed to be when you're Hispanic. I would say
Mm-hmm.
this is something I find very interesting with you because you're definitely outside of that mold. And I like finding people like that because I don't know. I mean, and you're starting to see more change happening in the Hispanic community when it comes to like not being a very specific way, right? Like you see things that Bad Bunny primarily is doing, which is angering all abuelitas in the world, right? Like everybody is or everybody who's in that old school kind of mindset, and Bad Bunny being one of the biggest artists in the world, dressing in drag or like, singing
Doing
in
whatever the
Japanese. You
fuck
know what I
he
mean?
wants.
Like, what I mean? Like he's just doing whatever, and I find that interesting because even in my family, I see like the older people in my family, I see the way they react towards Bad Bunny, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
that's just so interesting how that's clearly marking a change in the old school ways of Hispanic people and kind of breaking out. You know what I'm saying?
he's challenging
Yeah.
norms.
Oh
He
yeah.
is challenging ways of
It
creating
yeah, in a way
music.
that we haven't seen it, and this is it feels weird to like talk about this because a lot of things that Bad Bunny's doing probably wouldn't get that much press, let's say in the U.S. But it's because we've seen it before, but not in the Hispanic community. That's what I find so interesting about Bad Bunny. He's kind of one of the first to really challenge norms, and I just find that
Yes.
interesting that he's doing it now and all the reactions that he's getting. You know what I mean?
Yes. Bad Bunny is incredible.
Yeah,
He's such a powerful force.
yeah. It's just interesting to see what he's doing, especially considering, like I said, like a lot of the things that are happening in the U.S. that I feel like just shows where society, like what the fuck is the word, like the way the Hispanic community's at versus the rest of the world. You know what I mean? It's always funny to see that people challenging the norms lets you know where the society's at in terms of what they accept and they don't accept. But I just brought that up to say it's just interesting. You're a very unique person. I can get that just straight off.
Oh,
You looking at your
thank
Instagram,
you.
talking to you. Yeah, I mean, just the way you see the world and you think. It's part of the reason why I want to have you on the podcast. I like talking to interesting people. I don't want to talk to anybody who's like fucking boring. You know
Thank
what I
you.
mean? That would make a boring conversation. I don't want that.
Damn.
Well, I mean, it's true.
Thank you.
Imagine like,
No, I
well,
understand.
whatever. I don't even want to. I mean, I've had guests in the past. Let's just say that have been kind of boring, and I've had to like pry shit out of them because they're too cool about saying certain shit. You know what I mean? But it is what it
Uh-huh.
is. We have you now, and no, yeah, I just wanted to point that out because it's interesting. I guess just for me being Hispanic, that's something I've noticed very specific to us Hispanic kids. You know?
I've definitely been outcasted in my family as
Yeah,
the gringa or
yeah,
just the weirdo. They try to call me a
yeah,
witch.
yeah,
There's just
yeah, yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
tú estás
Yeah,
practicando brujería.
yeah,
No, I just think these rocks are
yeah.
beautiful. Please.
Yo, that's hilarious. Yeah, exactly. That's fun. Oh yeah, I mean, I can even imagine you showing up with a bunch of rocks to a Dominican household or like Puerto Rican household, Hispanic household, and it was like, oh, here's what I bought. They're like, what the fuck is that? Yeah,
No, I don't
that's
even show
hilarious.
them.
Yeah, just keep it to yourself. But yeah,
Yeah, I can't even show them.
I just find it interesting. But when, okay, let's keep talking about you for a second. When did you notice that you think or you act, or when did you become aware of this? Because when you're young, you have a certain innocence. We all do, that we just do what we want, right? And we don't understand that that's like outside of the norms or whatever. At what point were you aware that like a lot of the things you like to do are outside of the norms? Do you know when you became aware of this?
When I became conscious,
Yeah, conscious
let
of
me
that
think.
part. Yeah, like because that's always interesting. Like I'm trying to think when. I guess let me ask that question to myself. Yeah, it must have been. It's always like around for me, probably like fifth grade, sixth grade is when you really start to see like because that's when the kids start maybe like bullying you or making fun of you. It's like, oh, what are you doing? And then you're all like, oh, I didn't know I wasn't. Oh, okay. And then that's when you're like, oh, okay. And then there's only a few people that keep doing that shit anyways, right? When you're young and people start like, what are you doing? There's only a few people that just stick to, nah, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna continue to do this. Sounds like you did that.
Yes. I do have, it was, it's been since elementary school.
Hmm.
But also, I just remember this when you said that, it brought me back to a memory. I have a picture of when I was like 5 or 6, and I was dressed up. I had the whole like living room decked out with my like stuffed animals, and I placed my shoes in a row, and I put my suitcase, and I like sat on the couch with like a little pen hanging out my mouth, and I was like swagging out. And I
Yeah.
was only like 5 or 6.
Oh, interesting.
So I think this has just always been some kind of energy within me. I always remember like in elementary school too, like I had like these Nike Gladiator sandals.
Hmm.
I don't think anybody knows what they are, but Nike made some weird ass
Yeah.
sandals
Just.
one time. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fucked with them because they were so different. And
Hmm.
like it's just always like been animals and nature and the ocean, and then like always been about like dressing up and
Yeah.
style, pictures, like my stuffed animals. Like it always like I always had a connection to these kinds of things.
Hmm.
It
Interesting.
was Like
that's it. Yeah,
definitely
that's
led up
interesting that
to.
you've been. Yeah, so that memory you can. That's pretty young. Yeah, that you can picture just you setting things up a certain way in your room that was just like what it came to you naturally. That's interesting. Yeah, I thought about the question for myself, and I think the moment I wasn't even young. I think the moment I truly realized that at least I did certain things that most people wouldn't do. It was actually pretty recent. It probably might have been like 2 3 years ago. I was supposed to take this ladder that was being used. Right, I was supposed to take it down to the basement, and for whatever reason, I just put the ladder like upside down. Like I set it upside down and said, you know, how it's supposed to be like up. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I just placed it upside down on the thing, which I didn't think was that big of a deal. And then my brother was like, "What the fuck? Why would you?" Because obviously you're not supposed to put the fucking ladder upside down. But that's when
Yeah,
I
because then it.
realized, oh yeah, I guess I do think differently. Because I just thought I didn't even. I just said, all right, whatever. I'll just put it backwards. I didn't see anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like that's where I realized, okay, I do probably
Shit.
think differently, probably than most people putting the fucking ladder upside down. I actually thought it was cool the way it looked. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just imagine like a V kind of. I was like, oh, this looks fire, and then just like hearing it to this day.
What?
What? What? Wait, what part are you
What were
confused
you
at?
trying to achieve?
By putting it
Where
upside
you?
down? I
Yeah.
was just setting it down. Yeah, I wasn't like trying to do anything with it. I was just like, oh, I'll just put it this way because it was already
Yeah.
upside down. I said, you know what? I'll just put it like this. And it wasn't even
Yeah.
laziness. It was because it could be, it could be misconstrued as that. But I just thought
It just
if
felt right, right?
yeah, it's like if I can put it, why can't I put it upside down? What's the problem with that? I guess maybe it just doesn't. It could slip.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I see why they put it. Okay, I'm starting to see why it goes up. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But that
Mm.
was the moment I realized. Okay, yeah, I don't know why to me that just felt like natural. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of like examples like that. But let's not make this about myself. Let's make it about our guest, Alexa. Um, what are the different mediums that you dabble in? Like the type of art that you create. What are all the types of different mediums that you use to express yourself? Want to get a good sense.
So this I okay, so of course painting, right?
Mm. That is in the background.
Fashion.
That's an original Alexa original right over there. All right.
Yes.
How much does
This
it go for
was
when you auction it? How at what place is the bidding gonna start? Like five
I'm not
thousand,
gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you.
100,000? Is that the bidding the where the bidding starts? No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, minimum 100,000, 100K. Yeah. So painting in the background. Yes.
Yes. Writing,
Writing.
fashion, makeup is a huge way of expressing how I feel because it's
Mm.
literally like the expression.
Very visual. Yeah.
Writing, and then also writing poetry. I also sing, but I keep that to
Ooh.
myself.
All
I'm not
right.
gonna
Well,
sing.
that's interesting because we have a segment on this podcast, a karaoke segment that we're gonna start right now. No, I'm joking.
Oh shit.
I'm joking. You imagine I really put you on the spot and make you sing on the podcast? It's like you have to
Yeah,
sing now.
I sing for myself. I've
Yeah,
cried
yeah,
while
yeah.
I sing.
Like you've been
I've cried.
passionate. Yeah.
Yeah, I've cried many times while singing. So I would
Interesting.
say that's the way I express myself. Did I
That's
already say
cool.
fashion? Yeah, I said
Yeah, you said
fashion.
fashion, writing poetry. Yeah, interesting.
Jewelry. I've made my own jewelry,
Mm,
played around and like did different things and made like belts and stuff out of
yeah,
necklaces. That's fashion as well.
yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say what I was gonna say. You brought up one of the things that you do. Oh yeah, I guess
photography,
photography. You're big into that.
heavy. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Such an art.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there anything? I think that's one of the most satisfying things for me. I've dabbled in photography. I haven't done it much, but it's one of the most satisfying things when you are able to take a picture that looks exactly like the image that you have in your head.
The vision, yes, that is such a powerful moment
Yeah. Oh
when I
man.
get to create the vision that I had in my mind. And that's
Yeah.
usually how most of my, yeah, I
Most of
think
your
it's such a
photos go.
beautiful
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because
Heck
it's
yeah.
like I don't know. I think the thing that's so special about it could be that, because you can imagine anything in your mind, right? You can picture anything. But the moment you make it real, it's almost like a realization that's like, oh, anything is possible in that way. You know what I mean? Where like, if something that you completely made up in your mind, you're able to put like in a physical way, you're like, oh shit. So that's like, there's no limit to like what the fuck I can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I
Yes.
see it.
It's, I believe that we all have this ability to just it's not whether or not you're good at this one thing or you're not. It's whether or not you know how to channel that creativity within
Right.
you properly.
Yes.
Because not only do I do all these creative artistic things, well, cooking is also an art. Cleaning
Yeah.
is an art. The way you do your things and your hair, everything is an art. And it's all about the creativity within that you channel through whatever you're doing. It's how
Yeah.
passionate and flow. It's like a divine like experience to be able to just channel that
Yeah.
creativity from within you into whatever medium, into whatever you want to do, and then
Yeah.
feel good about it.
It is because, like I said, yeah. Again, back to the thing of like turning the intangible into something tangible is a very crazy thing. At least I feel so with a lot of things. And it's funny because you mentioned this the singing, how you can become really passionate while singing. I kind of feel the same way with just not singing. I'm a horrible singer, but just like listening to music. Like music is strange in that it's so primitive. Like music is just kind of like from what I've researched, it just kind of music's always been around because it's like just the beating of our hearts is music, right? That's just like
Yep.
a drumming, just a drum sound constantly going, right? So it's like when you listen to music, it connects to you in like a fucking the deepest level something can connect to you with because it's like your life basically your heart beating is that rhythm. You know
Well,
what I mean? So it's like
I think music is so beautiful.
yeah, man,
It's so
it is.
powerful.
Yeah, and again, I think with me the intangible to tangible thing where like I can listen to a song and not know why exactly, but I'll be like, this song is specific experience that I've had in my life, or a specific experience I want to happen in my life, or a specific emotion. It's almost like these 3 minutes of sounds can create like like a very specific image in my head or feeling. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So in that way, it's like I can listen to a song, right, and just get a very like specific, like I don't know, like a song we were playing before the episode started. Like I was kind of playing a little bit of a song, like just so everybody knows, is a new Kevin Abstract song. It's called Sierra Nights. Check it out; it's a good song. But that song, when I hear it, I just hear like I'm not even gonna try to explain it, but in terms of an emotion, like a very blissful, like just floating in the clouds kind of feeling. So just the fact that
Yes.
sound can capture feelings so specifically is why I love music and why I've always been I've always loved it and connected a lot to it, if that makes sense. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying.
That's why I love
It's
music.
it's a form of expression and everybody has similar experiences.
Yeah, man.
And that's why we're able to connect so deeply through music. It's why
Yeah.
music is one of the biggest things in the world right now.
Yeah, and
Music,
yeah.
life is music.
Yes.
The
Yes.
rhythm of our life, it goes up and down in beats and
Yeah.
sequences and
Right.
hi-hats and bass and
Yeah.
climaxes and drops, and it's all life.
Whoa,
That's why we're able.
this could be like a good poem or short film where like each instrument of like let's say a trap song is like a specific part of your life. That's a fire idea. Nobody take it. It's Lexus, okay? Because I'm not artistic enough to do it, so I'm just putting it on her. If she wants to do it, I'm giving the idea to her because ain't no way I'm gonna make a poem that gets that point across. But no, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, even exactly ups and downs, like the different parts of our life that makes it feel whole, right? Like how different elements come together to make something great. All the different like factors, like the limitless possibilities that come from all the different factors that we experience in our lives. Very interesting. Yeah, music is one of those things. It will never like go away because it's just too like connected to who we are as humans. It's almost like you could almost say like music is like a like because I forget what it's called, but there's like a pyramid of like the basic needs for humans. It's like food and food, water, shelter. I would put fucking music as fourth or something like that.
Rhythm.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
rhythm. If you break it down like rhythm, those could be like
Dance is so powerful.
the four basic elements of our life. How do we even get into music? Oh yeah, the different art forms that you dabble in. Do you have a favorite or one? Or one that like you? I'm sure you enjoy all of them the same, but like just one that you
A
really
favorite
like doing.
song?
No, like art form or a way to express yourself. A medium
So,
through which you express yourself.
um, so the way I view my like creative expression and like the way the mediums that I use is, I mean, I wouldn't say I have a favorite. It's like there'll be a period in time where I'm like flowing in painting. Like I'm just making
Mm,
amazing paintings. And then there'll
okay.
be a time in my life where I'm like doing photo shoots
Yeah.
and they're amazing and I'm doing them back to back. And then there'll be a time in my life where I'm writing and writing and
Yeah.
writing poetry and there'll be a time in my life where I'm like mostly into dancing and like
Mm.
it's like
Dancing bachata,
and then
right?
there bachata. I'll do expressionism
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in the
What is
rain
that?
on the balcony, like
Oh, just like okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't do it right now.
Just
I'm not in the mood, but
yeah. But I
but
can
like
picture it. Yeah.
I get just as excited about my photo shoots as I do my paintings.
Hmm.
I would say
Well,
maybe
okay. I guess a better question would be, what's the art form of the moment? I guess. What's the one thing that you're heavily in to doing right now?
definitely writing.
Hmm. You're in the writing phase.
I am in a deep writing phase. I've been writing pages and pages of just stuff that I've been learning
Hmm.
and then turning that stuff into poetry. So as I'm
Hmm.
gaining more knowledge, wisdom, understanding, greater discernment of everything that's going on around me, I get to express that into poetry. And as I learn new words,
Interesting.
learning
New
new words is
words.
so important.
What's a new word you've recently learned? Let's see. Let's see if I know any. Do you have any
Dang, bruh.
specific? Is that putting you on the spot? I don't know. I'm just yeah.
Epoch. I learned the
Epoch.
epoch.
I've heard that word.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that means. What does that mean?
It's basically like a phase in time of like like the Jurassic Age was the epoch of the dinosaurs
Got it.
or the beginning of it. It's like a beginning of something,
Okay. Let me
like a
see if I.
transformational moment, a
Oh,
pivotal moment,
okay. That makes sense. Let me see if I
something
can.
like that.
Let me see if I can apply it as a sentence. Me having Lexa on the podcast is an epoch of the current era of the podcast. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just gave it a
it's okay.
give it a good old college try. Maybe yeah.
It's
Let's.
okay.
I
It's good.
don't even think I was even close, but whatever.
I
Epoch.
just
Okay,
learned it too, so
interesting.
yeah, epoch.
That's a good word. Yeah, it's always isn't it funny when
It's
you like
beautiful.
when you say a word? I've noticed. It's always funny when you say a word that you've never. Have you ever like said a word you've never said before, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I knew that word, or like it just kind of
Oh
came out of
yeah,
nowhere. Like it sometimes it be happening to me organically. I just like I don't know.
vivacious.
What the dacious you said?
Uh, vivacious.
Vivacious. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't even know what it means, but I like what it feels like it means. You know what I mean? Like,
you know what it means.
yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what it means, but I
Vivacious,
know what it means. It's like I don't
like
know.
high
Like,
vibrations, beauty, and just like
right. That's what it felt like it
power.
was. Yeah, some words you use context clues, and you get a feel as to what it is. Maybe you don't know what it is, but okay. So writing, you're in a heavy writing phase right now.
Heavy.
Just like journaling or like like journaling, turning that into poetry, right? It's kind of what you're.
So I find so I journal a lot,
Hmm.
and but right now I'm more of in like a learning, studying kind of, and I feel like that's creative. I feel like that's
Oh
a
yeah, for
way
sure.
to like bring about it's an action, and I think it's a powerful action to study, especially universal knowledge. It can be applied to
Yeah.
anything. So right now, yeah, I'm studying like some laws and some cosmetologies and some wisdoms.
Mm.
And then I'm also, is it cosmetology? That sounds like makeup.
That's definitely
Cosmic,
makeup. I didn't want to correct it because I didn't.
cosmic,
Cosmetology or
cosmetology,
something.
cosmetology. It's some,
I was just gonna let it slip. Like, oh yeah, she's studying makeup too. I mean, it makes sense. You have makeup on right now, so it's like you
yeah.
could be
And I'm
studying.
turning,
Yeah, you gonna do cosmetology on your own already. So you're not wrong. I would say you're definitely a cosmetologist. You know what I mean?
it's like cosmicology or
Yes,
something like
yes,
that. Like
yes.
cosmic knowledge.
Cosmic knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sorry. And I'm turning that into poetry and how to view my life and how to tell
Mm.
the story of my life. We're all storytellers of our
Yes.
lives.
Yes.
And physically writing out your story, where you've come from, how far you've grown, what you've turned into, what you've experienced, and writing that out physically, pen and paper, and then turning that script into something beautiful, beautiful ending, a moment of growth, like something, what's the word? That
Vivacious.
strengthens you.
Oh my bad.
Something that empowers you,
Yeah.
a story that empowers you.
Okay.
So I'm turning just all this wisdom and stuff that I'm learning so I can better tell the story of my life and
Hmm.
create poetry that people can relate to.
Interesting. Okay, that's pretty cool. Um, Speaking of, I guess telling the story of your life. Explain your life in 2 words. Go. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. You imagine that's insane. Yeah, I don't think that's
No,
even. I don't think any life can
um,
be explained in 2 words.
chaos and evolution. I think that's everybody
Whoa! Oh
though.
my
Chaos and
goodness!
evolution.
You did it. Somehow I was joking with that
It's
question, but you did it.
There was so much chaos in my life, so much
Mm.
separation. I've had my paintings ripped to pieces.
Oh
I've
wow.
had people come against me, call me
Yeah.
satanic, call me
Yeah.
demonic, call me a witch. I've had so
Yeah.
many problems with friends, and it's
Just with
just,
how
and
you
it
are
all
and
turned in.
the conflict that brings upon other people. Yeah.
People don't know your energy and can only meet you as far as they met themselves. So when they
Yeah.
find something, they see that you're different, you're set apart, they don't know what's going on within you. They can't recognize it because again, people can only meet you as far as they met
Yeah.
themselves, and they treat you weird. They think you're this or they think you're that. And they don't understand why you're so happy all the time. It's just
And you are happy all the
chaos and
time
growth. I'm usually happy.
because you're
I
gonna
think it's very
just.
important.
Yeah, I was okay. This is a good conversation to have. Just a concept of happiness, because this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently. But so people see you and think you're happy all the time, and that causes conflict. Like people are like, "How are you
Um,
so happy all the time? Like what's up?" Like people do that to you.
I feel like my family
Interesting.
mostly. Like I'll come in such a happy mood, and they just don't know how to respond to me because they're not feeling the same way.
Oh yeah, I mean that.
Type stuff.
Tell me about it. Listen, you're preaching to the
I
choir right now.
I literally just went to the Springs with a group of people. Like I think it was yesterday. I can't remember yesterday. That's crazy.
Been a long time ago.
And I'm such a happy. I'm talking to everybody. I'm having fun. I'm doing front flips, and
You can do a front
they
flip.
don't know how to talk to me. They don't know how to treat me. They don't.
Yeah,
They didn't know how to communicate with me.
yeah.
They were quiet with me. Yes, I do have issues with people who see my happiness and see my energy and not know how to approach me or talk to me.
Do you know how to? So you know how to do a front flip? I'm sorry, I got stuck in that. You can do a front flip?
Yeah,
Really?
into the water. It's not
Oh,
hard. You
into
just
the
tuck your
water.
knees
Okay,
in.
okay, okay. I thought you were just randomly.
If
You
I could
just
do a front flip right here, I would
that
right now.
that would be great content for
Yeah.
sure. Can you do can you do a split or something? Like, can you do anything like really athletic? Can you do like a
I
spider
mean,
where
I
you
am
like scroll?
athletic. Oh, I could do that.
You
Yeah,
could do
right.
that. You could
Right.
do the spider. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've always
That's
wanted
called
to.
spider back bend or something.
Yeah, yeah. I've always wanted to do like a backflip or something like that, but gravity is not my friend right now. AKA, I'm getting fat. So
Okay.
it's like I wish I could do it. A front flip or back flip. Those sound so weird. Like I always love those videos of people randomly busting it out. Like, oh, let me just do it, and then it's always fun.
Yeah.
But back to this is a very interesting conversation though of like people not knowing how to deal with your energy. This is interesting because why do you think that is?
Um, like I said, people can only meet you as far as they met themselves.
Hmm. Okay.
They can only recognize outside what they recognize in their self. If they can't recognize happiness, self-love, connection, unity within themselves, then they can't really bring that out into the world. That's
Hmm.
just literally how things work. You can't, if you're disconnected within, if you have these mental, what is it called? Acedia, like just mental sloth, just unable
Mental
to
walls, you could
connect,
say,
and
maybe. Like,
blocks,
yeah.
and you're unable to see the light in people, and you think people are weird, and you try to figure them out instead of just
Hmm.
connecting with them on their level
Yeah.
vibrationally.
Yeah. Yeah. We need more of that. I think people. That's such a good point. I feel like people don't try to meet each other where they're at because I guess because I don't know. Everybody has some sort of ego and they feel like no, she's got to come to my level, or like you said, maybe they just can't reach that, so they become like uh what's the fucking word? Confrontational, I guess, or like they become
Judgmental.
yeah, like all that, like all those negative like vibes or energy, they start to come out when they're frustrated with themselves, I guess, because they realize they can't reach you. You know what I mean? I feel like that happens a lot. I can totally imagine.
But everybody has to start off on that level
Hmm.
because we all have to start off at some point. Some people start off higher than others. Some people are
Yeah.
all we're all at different levels. But I find it a blessing that I was once depressed, angry, and disconnected because now that I am more in union with my truest self, I'm not saying I'm there all the way. I'm only 20 years old. I
Working
have
on it,
still
yeah.
so much more growth to go. I'm
Yeah.
not perfect. Nobody is. But I'm able to recognize the disconnected and avoid
Hmm.
because I was once at that level within myself and I no longer want to see that in my life. We
Hmm.
all have to start at some sort of disconnection, some sort of mental block in order for us to grow and then recognize those blocks in the future in our path so we're able to just go around them and brush it off or just let it go because yeah, you just got to start there.
Yeah.
I think it's a blessing.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay, I got from what you said, I got two questions. Question number one: do you consider yourself? Well, this isn't question. Question 1A: do you consider yourself confident?
I'd say yeah.
Question 1B:
Yeah.
do you feel like that's all? Do you think does that drive people away or like make you? Do people find you intimidating? That's question 1B.
I've I don't know. I
Hmm. Because the reason I asked question 1A is because I've noticed anybody who is confident or acts, totally themselves and they're secure in themselves, they always become intimidating to people. And I find that very fascinating because I've talked to a lot of people that are like that, and a lot of people do get intimidated by confidence, but for whatever reason, maybe it has to do with what the thing we were talking about, matching energies. I'm like the opposite. I become more confident if I'm around confident people, right? Like, I become more gleeful when I'm around happy people. Like, usually that energy, I'm able to go along with that. I've noticed, but I don't know why, but that is very common. If you're confident, people just kind of are intimidated with you. But so I don't know if you've had like any explicit moments in your life where you've thought, oh, like where you could see that there is intimidation in a room.
I don't yeah, but I don't maybe I don't think like that.
Hmm.
So
You don't see it as
like
intimidation.
I don't I don't walk into rooms thinking that I'm the most confident person and that I'm
Right.
intimidating
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Like
But I'm.
even
But
though that may be a possibility,
yeah.
I don't really see it because I'm more focused on just get like I truly want to get to know people
Hmm.
and talk to people and connect to people. And I think I show my vulnerability and my humility pretty well.
Hmm.
So I know that's alive within me. Like I'm very vulnerable and I'm
Hmm.
not afraid to like be soft or express, you know, that side. So I never really think about oh, I'm a confident ass bad bitch, and these people are intimidated. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I
and things
actually
like that.
I relate with you when you're talking about being vulnerable, being outwardly vulnerable. I think that's something that's been kind of a pet peeve of mine, where people, I think a lot of people our age, um, are scared to show vulnerability, and that causes so many issues. Because if people were
I
more
understand
vulnerable,
too.
well, why people aren't vulnerable, right? Because they've probably been hurt a lot before, and they totally. But I just think I've realized a lot of issues that come from communication or just dealing with people is because they're putting up those walls and they don't want to be vulnerable with each other. And I feel like if people try to talk to or meet people with at least some
With the
sort of
intention of connection,
right, exactly,
yes,
yeah,
and people wouldn't be so afraid of being vulnerable.
right,
But it seems like everybody's trying to figure each other out.
mm-hmm,
So
yeah,
like once you like show them that vulnerable side of you, then they're like, oh, this person's like this. Oh, this person is going through this. Oh, this person thinks like this. So they're like this, and this confidence comes from this. And like, they try to
yeah,
connect dots, but you can't connect dots within another person's life because you will never truly get to know somebody 100%.
right,
I feel like, yeah, if people just came together with the intention of connecting, collaborating, and just, you know, good intentions, then we wouldn't have so much issues with vulnerability.
yeah. Yeah, man, this is such an interesting topic because I feel like yeah, everything you're saying is true, and I've noticed that time and time again. And people don't ever really get to know each other because of that very thing. You know what I mean? Because it's like I did like a video a while ago on my Instagram talking about I have this theory of like with how so many people are like hurt and afraid of being vulnerable. It's almost like when you're talking to somebody romantically or even in a friendship, it's like it's like two people you're dealing with, right? Like you're dealing with the let's say the duplicate that's supposed to be like the bodyguard of yourself, right? Where it's like
Mask.
the mask, I guess you could call it, where it's like this is, but I like to picture it as two people because it's just a funnier visual for me. But it's just like there's a second person that's in front of the vulnerable self, right? And they're the ones that are dealing with sometimes the vulnerable self or like the other like double that's protecting that person. And so imagine a conversation, like just picture this, a conversation between two like people, two like fucking duplicates of the real person, just talking to each other. It's like I said, it's almost like two walls talking to each other. Where it's like there's absolutely no vulnerability. It's all skepticism. It's all cynicism. It's like, oh, what do you want? It's like, oh, what do I want? What do you want? And then it's almost like a game that is being played between both of these
Who are
people.
you? What can I get from you?
Yeah,
Type of stuff.
exactly. Is am I talking to the vulnerable self? Am I talking to the bodyguard? You know what I mean? Like that's how I picture it. And I always, and then sometimes you don't know if you are dealing which person you're dealing with the fucking mask or with the real person. That can get confusing. I don't know, but I don't know if that's specific to this generation or that's something that's always been. But I definitely see it a lot with the people in our generation. Maybe because of fucking Kick. Do you remember
Really?
Kick? Yeah. Do you remember Kick?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of trauma came from Kick with a lot of people. I think Kick is the reason why this generation is so like has so many trust issues. Yo, real
I feel
shit. I
like a
think
lot
that
of people
yeah.
are more out than
No.
usual than before. I feel like
Well,
people are more vulnerable now and talking about
interesting.
healing,
Okay.
transformation. I see more people talking about growth
Okay.
nowadays, especially
That's
on
that's
spiritual
true.
TikTok.
I think you're right. You're right about that. There is definitely a movement to be more vulnerable and talk about our feelings
There's
or
a
whatever.
spectrum. It's all a spectrum though.
I guess
There
it's
it
just
all
all the people.
exists.
I guess the people that I'm around in my very small bubble, I've noticed that's like the common thing. I guess I'm not in those
Ooh.
circles. I guess that you're talking about those like the people that you see on TikTok. Like that's all great and all, but I try to base on like the people I know, and it's definitely very much rampant. That like trust issues, trauma, unresolved trauma. Let me ghost you for like 2 weeks because I can't be honest with myself that, I'm interested in you, and, like all that shit. Like, it's like the moment, I don't know, that sounds specific. It's not. I'm just saying, like, that's,
No, I get it. It's
but I'm just
funny.
saying
I
that's like a
relate to
thing where,
it.
like, if I've heard many people talk about this, and I've experienced it before, but like, there's a lot of people that start talking to somebody else romantically, and the moment they realize there's something there, they ghost you because of the trauma. They're like, fuck it, I'm not even gonna get myself into this. You know what I mean? They purposely, like, self destruct in that way.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting conversation. I gotta go get the charger because my laptop is about to die. Hold on. I forgot I was gonna change my shirt because I don't like this shirt. It's too basic.
In the middle of
Well, not
the
now. I'm just
podcast.
saying. I'm just now realizing I wanted to change my shirt. I had a cooler shirt to wear, especially with your outfit. I'm just now noticing this muted
It's just
ass
a big
green.
old.
Yeah, but that's way cooler than this fucking muted Hollister shirt. Muted
It's
green.
whatever.
All right, and we're
You
back.
threw it back with the Hollister.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right, I think we're back. What was the? Oh, we're talking about vulnerability and how. Oh yeah, and like people ghosting you because they're too traumatized to deal with those real emotions that arise when talking to people. I don't know, but I think you're right with, like, there is seemingly a movement to be more vulnerable, but to me, seems like it's more on social media than anything. And I try to go for the people I know personally, and that's still there. So. Do you? I mean, what do you think about that? Like, based on the people you know, do you still see that, or are they more vulnerable that you've noticed in the past?
Um, my circle is almost like a dot right now.
It what?
My circle's like a dot. Like I
Oh, so it's
don't
just one
really.
dot. Yeah. Well, I guess
I
technically
mean,
a
I
dot is
I
a
have a
circle.
best friend. I have my cousin.
Hmm.
I have my other cousin.
Yeah. Okay, that's four dots right there. And I mean, one dot is a circle, so in a way, that's, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Technically,
and
it
we're
could be a
all
circle.
very vulnerable with each other. I'm vulnerable.
Yeah.
I talk about my feelings.
So okay,
So
so you're talking about you're vulnerable. Do you welcome back to Dr. Phil, everybody? Like, I don't know. This is interesting. It's an interesting topic, but do you feel like vulnerability is they say this like in therapy or whatever, but and I've heard a lot of people say this, and I think it is true. I think being vulnerable is probably the strongest thing one can be because it's
it's
like
hard,
it's very hard. And to
especially
yeah.
if you're doing something wrong.
Hmm.
Being vulnerable about you being wrong is not easy.
No. It's almost
Not
like all the
easy.
defenses in your body are telling you to not admit you're wrong. It's almost like your constant defense mode. You have to fight back against that.
Pride, ego.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, because I am not perfect. I've had
You're not?
situations in my
Okay.
relationships. No, don't do
Okay.
that. And
Just
I
just just
always,
asking.
I always remind myself of that because I have a tendency as an artist to try to be a perfectionist.
Oh, don't tell me
I can
about it.
beat myself up about my mentalities and I can beat
Yeah.
myself up about my habits and everything. So it's I always have to remind myself like nothing in this world
It's
is
perfect.
supposed to be a certain way. It's all just is.
Yeah.
But
That's yeah.
I've had situations in my relationships where I was wrong and it took me 2 weeks to admit it.
Yeah.
It was over time. Like
It's
as long
hard.
as you are trying, like just
Right.
trying to admitting you're wrong is one of the hardest things, especially to admit that you're wrong. Being vulnerable with yourself, not even just in relationships, being able to tell yourself, I'm doing this wrong, I need to change it to this. I'm acting like this, I need to start acting like this and stop acting like that.
Yeah.
Or I yeah, I'm blocking myself from this, I need to grow. I need to stop. Being vulnerable and being real to yourself is also a problem. And that's why people can't come together and be vulnerable because they haven't even like hit that stage where they're
Vulnerable with
able to
themselves. Yeah.
confront the wrongs within themselves. It's not easy.
Yeah.
and it's infinite. It goes on until you die. Like you're
Yeah.
always going to have something to work on. There's always more to learn. There's always more to grow on. There's no cap.
Yeah. No cap. Yeah, I agree.
No cap. No
Well,
cap.
yeah, that's interesting. I got a little bit hung up on the perfectionist thing because that's definitely something I struggle with. And since we're already in, well, we're talking about vulnerability, but something I've realized about my perfectionism has to do with growing up, like with my parents, anything that I would do, perfect or like, let's say grades, right? If I got 100, that's like normal, right? So let's say I got 100 on a test. They're like, hey, mom, I got 100 on this test. And she's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to get. And you're like, oh, okay. And so now that kind of fucks you up for life because then you become that perfectionist, what it's like you think perfection is the normal, is the average, is what you should be at. And so when you fall slightly below that, you um, like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I would say you hurt yourself, not physically, but just like, oh, what the, like, you flog yourself. Like, oh, why did you do, like, you could have done this. Like, what, you really, over like little shit that doesn't matter. But you're like, so, it's so ingrained in you, at least in me, that it's like, perfect is the bar, or perfect is what you're supposed to be at all times. That's something I've had to struggle with because I apply that to a lot of the things that I care about, right? Like, at work, right? If I'm doing something, it has to be like fucking. It's almost like I'm a robot. Like I do. Like, here's a real example. I do Uber, right? When I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing Uber, I literally treat myself like a robot. Like in the same way. Like, did you see that Tesla robot that they're putting out? Like,
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like the robot that's supposed to drive you or just be in the passenger side or whatever. But
that's what's up.
like which is cool. Like, what's his name? Elon Musk made a dance and shit. It was pretty funny, but
He's cool.
yeah, but just just that, like when I'm doing Uber, I almost treat myself like a robot where like I don't talk. I drive as perfectly as I can. I have curated playlists. Like I have to be like without flaw. And that's how I treat it because I think that's how if you're going to do it, you have to do it at this level. And that's not good because that can really be mentally taxing. You know what I mean? When you're like, when you don't leave any room for mistakes, the moment you do make a mistake, it feels like you just killed somebody or it's like the biggest thing in the world when it really doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know what? This reminds me of a saying that I've been saying since like elementary school.
Hmm.
Like I was a really good drawer for a long time, so I would like tell other people like there's no mistakes in life. Every mistake is a
Mm.
new creation. Or there's no mistakes in art. Every
Yeah.
mistake is a new creation.
Creation.
So I
Wow.
feel
Yeah.
like yeah, that's all it is. People get so scared of failure and mistakes, but it's just a new route for growth.
Yeah.
And creation
Oh,
is so simple.
that's a great way of putting it. It's a new route for growth. I like that. Listen, coin that. That's yours. What, you just made that up right now on the spot. What did you say? Mistakes are just a new route to growth. That's pretty good.
No, there are no mistakes in art. Every mistake is a new creation.
No, I
I've
know
been
that,
saying
but
that
well,
since
that's that one. But I'm saying you created
that's
a
been
new
my
one.
saying.
But you just created a new
Oh,
one though. You just said, well, did you say mistakes are a route to growth? I really like that. Let's
yeah.
coin that. Let's make sure
I
nobody
think
if
that's
anybody
pretty
uses it.
widely known.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know, but I like the wording of it being a new route because it's almost
Yeah.
like the way I'm picture. I like the picture that paints in my mind where it's just like a branch, right? Where it's like it's going astray, but it's not like necessarily wrong. It's just going astray, creating its own path. You know what I mean? I like the picture that creates. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, perfectionism, and I guess more specifically with art, it can really fuck you up. And it's actually one of those things that I feel like could be a leading cause for a lot of hurt. You could even go so far as to say maybe like suicide when it comes to like artists. You know what I mean? When they're like
Whoa.
when they're so tortured that they're not doing it the right way or like the perfect way. You can see that with a lot of people. I feel like there's a lot of artists that like make the greatest shit you could ever find, right? And then you talk to them and they're like, "Oh yeah, I fucking hate that shit. Like that wasn't even my best shit." And they're like, they really like go hard on themselves, And I feel like
Yeah.
that it's commonplace with a lot of artists. Like you hear a lot of directors,
Salvador Dali in an interview once said that he's a bad painter
right?
because he's not smart enough.
Exactly. You see that,
And
right? He's one of the greatest painters of all
one
time.
of the surrealist greats.
Yeah, and then
Amazing.
and then he feels like that about himself because he doesn't feel like he's reaching perfection. I feel like a lot of artists do have that, and I feel like that in a way keeps them going, but it's definitely not healthy. Definitely not in the long run, because I feel like that's just too taxing for one human person to constantly feel like, oh, this ain't, this ain't good, this ain't good, this ain't good. If all your life you're thinking your shit ain't good, but it is, but you in your mind you think it's not, it's just gonna take a toll. You know what I mean? Like that constant feeling of feeling like it's not enough can kill
Yeah.
people internally, like even metaphorically. You know what I mean?
I had a friend, I have a friend, his name's Sprout, and he actually told me, like, I remember like I was very upset about this painting because before this painting, I made this other painting that was like beautiful single stroke lines and they were all perfect and in
Mm,
line and beautiful. Like to me it was like perfection, it was gorgeous. And then this one is just like chaos and like black and like
mm.
randomness. And he's like, the art is just gonna make itself. You have to let it out.
Interesting.
You just gotta let it out.
And you're talking about Sprout
Clear,
Hardy, right?
yeah.
Shout out to Sprout
Sprout,
Hardy. Uh,
Pendergrass.
yeah, I'm gonna put this fucking thing right here. His Instagram handle. That's for myself later. Make sure to put his fucking Instagram name right here in the editing process. Yeah, shout out to him. He's cool. I'm aware. That's kind of how also again another person that led me to finding about you because I know about him. But
He's great.
great point. Just it's just gonna it's gonna make itself. It's interesting, man. It's interesting just talking about art. The thing that I find fascinating is that art is so like innate within certain people, but yet we don't really see that, and we're very judgmental about it, right? Because it's like it's true what you're saying. The art is gonna make itself. You're making it, and it's gonna be beautiful, or it's gonna be this or that, whatever, right? And that's kind of what art is, right? But then the people who make the art don't really see it that way sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like art is not this
Yeah.
calculated thing, which is why I like it.
Art
You know
is
what I mean?
simply expression.
Yeah.
It's simply expression. It's not a price tag. It's I don't even take it as an identity. It's just
Mm,
an expression, a medium
yeah.
of expression.
Interesting. Okay, let's go back to you really quickly. And I asked this to everybody who I get on the podcast, but just I guess ultimate goals in terms of career. I know ultimate life goals. We talked about that at the beginning of the episode, but in terms of career, what do you hope to accomplish?
I what I My big picture is to see many people inspired. I want to plant seeds,
Hmm.
right, within everyone with knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Just plant these seeds of truth. But for my career
Yeah.
wise, I feel like right now I'm at a place where I'm like trying everything
Okay.
when it comes. So the art can only do so much, I mean, it's symbolism, it's the language of the universe. But ultimately, I want my poetry to touch many, many, many people.
Okay. So that's where you see the real like growth. The thing you want to pursue and make it as big as it possibly can. Like poetry books, I
Yes,
guess, are just like
I don't want to. I don't want to turn my art into, oh, I gotta paint because this is where my money's come from. Like I don't.
interesting.
I don't want to. I don't. This is for me.
Yeah.
It's on my walls. It makes me feel good. It makes me cry. It
Yeah.
makes me. This is what.
Laugh. Yeah.
This is personal. Like
Interesting. Yeah. This is very interesting. This is another really interesting topic we could talk about. The intersection between art and capitalism. And just how a lot of artists ultimately want to make money from their art because that's the thing they enjoy doing. And who wouldn't want to get paid off the thing they enjoy doing? But it's interesting you saying that because it sounds like you understand it can, if you turn it into a thing you make money off of, it can taint it kind of.
It stops being personal. It stops being about
Mm.
me and expressing my true nature. It starts being about, oh, is this $100,000? Oh, is this a 50K painting? Oh, how much money can I make this in NFT? When really what this is all about and what it's always been for me, I'm about to cry.
Let's go. You know what I mean? This is exact. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm not. Well, you're not crying in a bad way. You're not. I'm not making you sad. You're just very
I'm
emotional about
so
this.
emotional.
Yeah, this is great. I love emotion. This is what the fuck this show's about. This is why you tune in.
Rob. No,
No, I get it. I get it. Uh, uh,
this is
uh.
me.
Yeah, I get it.
This isn't for anyone else.
Yeah,
This is my shadow. This is my anger.
yeah,
This is my happiness. This isn't for, I'm not doing it for anybody else. It's to express myself.
yeah. It's very.
That,
Yeah.
wow,
I listen. All this is proving to me right now is that
crazy.
this is exactly you feel strongly about your art. This is why you don't want it tainted with any money or anything outside of like any influences. Listen, if there's one thing I love is seeing passion within people because I'm a very passionate individual. I connect with people that way. So I love seeing this. I don't love seeing you cry. Obviously, that's not but just like the passion that I'm seeing through the emotions. I love that. Because I ultimately, if we're talking about vulnerability, again, it's just about caring. Something recently that I saw, Tyler the Creator. He did an interview in Hot 97, right? And he started talking about like caring about shit.
Bro, when he said that shit, I was like, he cares. He gives a fuck.
He wasn't too cool to care.
He wasn't too cool to
Dip
care.
said
You
that
can't
very
be
cool.
too cool, because if you too cool, you gonna freeze to death.
Right.
Niggas be trying to be too cool and
that's
not
what
be
happened.
silly and always try to be hard. And it's like, bro, you look dumb.
Like if you're cool, if you want to seem cool, you just act like you don't care. And I've encountered that so many times. Like when I talk to my sister about like advice for certain things, she's always like, just act like you don't care. Or like I talk to people and their advice mostly like with in regards to something that's like just don't care. You play it cool, right? Like you hear that over and over again. And I've always my whole life struggled with that shit because I can't act like I don't care about something that I care about. It's impossible. But that's like just not being myself, and that's something I've realized I can't do. Not be myself, right? And then I saw this interview with Tyler the Creator, and he was talking about how caring is cool. Like caring is the thing that's gonna take your shit to the next level. Caring is the thing that makes your shit matter. And that's been stuck in my head because again, I'm somebody that can seem like they care a lot about something, or like can be like little things can affect you in a great way or whatever. Or like you can get really involved about something. So all that to say, what you're doing is the coolest thing you could do, which is care about your shit. You know what I mean? And that's something that I like to associate with people who care about their shit. Anybody who cares is cool in my book. I can talk to somebody who cares all day long. You know what I mean? That was great. But I guess my question then is, in terms of money, because this country is definitely a capitalist country. This shit, all that matters in this country, truly, is the bottom dollar, is the fucking money. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you exist in a world that's like this then? Is my question. How do you feel about that? How do you see that?
I can say one thing that I've learned is you're not paid based off the amount of hours you work. You're paid based off the amount of value you provide. So
Ooh.
your value is based off how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Or yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And usually when it comes to that, you have to do a lot of things for free at first. You have to do a lot for free because you are still learning. How do you get money in a world like this? It's my current issue right now, actually. Yeah. I can't even tell you. I have a clothing brand. I make money off of that. But
what's a clothing brand?
When it
Let's
comes
shout it out.
to
What is it?
Lexanies, Lexanie jeans.
Lexanie jeans. Okay, that's I'm gonna put it here. It's gonna be in the description of the episode right here. But future me, make sure you put it right here. But
It's
yes,
just Lexanies.
yeah, Lexanie.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you were saying yes. So you're making money off of that.
But when it comes to the purpose and what I want to see in the world, I'm not sure how I'm going to profit off that. I'm not sure if I even want to or how that is even going to work.
Yeah.
But I know it's starting off because I'm here.
There you go.
And everything that I've been learning, studying, putting into practice, I'm able to express here. And who knows, maybe one thing I said on this podcast will affect one person and they won't forget that one thing for the rest of their life. They will never forget it. And that's the kind of thing that's what's valuable to me.
Yes. That's the thing that you ultimately want.
But right now, like when it comes to getting money off of these kinds of goals that I have in mind, I'm not quite sure.
Interesting.
I'm not.
Yeah, that's the real dilemma. Yeah, that's the thing, especially in this country of all places. Yeah.
I could easily just keep drawing and like put it up as NFTs. I could do that. But when it comes to what I really want to see and create in the world, I'm not sure how I'm gonna make money off that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. It's one of those questions. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things that artists face all the time, especially if you really give a fuck about your art, which you clearly do. Lexanies jeans right here again. Let me put that right here. It's the third time I'm putting it. I don't know. Oh yeah, I had a question about school, college specifically. If we could talk about that. You didn't go to college, right?
No.
Let's talk about that. That's interesting because I'm currently going to college, but I know a lot of people who are not going to college. A lot of my close friends are not going to college, and every day seems like one of those things that's really not necessary whatsoever, especially, I guess, in the fields that you are going into or that I plan on going into, where, like you said, it's like your value lies with who you're working with or how much value you provide to them. So it's less about, I guess, a diploma. It's more about the value, right? So then in that case, well, let me just let you answer. Why didn't you go to college?
I just didn't want to.
So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Lexa just didn't want to. It's as simple as that.
I just didn't want to.
You know why I'm asking though. There's definitely a pressure from a certain amount of people. Then you tell them you didn't go to college or you don't want to go to college. The pushback is crazy. You know what I mean? Like from a lot of people. So
I guess. I mean, my friends, a lot of them didn't go to college.
Right.
A lot of people I know.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess again, maybe I'm just projecting because the people I know and the people I'm around, very important. So, but yeah, I could see there being spaces where that's it's kind of like a foregone conclusion. Yeah, I'm just not going. And you're learning shit on your own. Like we've talked about, you're constantly learning shit. So it's like,
studying is so important. You don't need college to learn. You need discipline and action. You need to sit down and find what you want to learn and what you need to work on and what you need to advance in and write, read, recite.
Yeah.
Recite.
It comes down to that. Yeah. Okay, I think we're nearing the end of the episode. This has been a roller coaster. I've loved it. Usually we go for an hour, but I could go another 30 minutes. But I'm starting to feel, I'm feeling like the ride, right? Let's say you can sense the energy.
We hit that climax.
Yeah, exact. You know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. We've definitely hit like the peak, and now it's like, I don't care. I could start fucking trying to do a backflip right now on the podcast, and it's not gonna hit the climax that it just did. So it's like, let's try to land this baby. Let's land this plane down. And I guess as we're coming to an end, the question I always like to ask at the end is, if there's one thing you want people to get across from this episode, one thing you want them to know, what is it?
Don't give a fuck about what anyone thinks. Do what you want and how you want to do it. And that's not easy.
Yeah.
So that's it. Just do whatever the fuck you want and keep learning.
Do
and
whatever
don't
the
care
fuck
what
you
anybody
want
thinks of you.
and keep
You
learning.
look behind, you look like you may be behind for one person, but your plan and your path is unique to you. Your blessings are unique to you.
That's such a great point. Yeah, we were speaking about analogies earlier, and I think this is a pretty good one. Usually, I'm shit at analogies, but I think this is a good one. I'm gonna tell it to you, and let me see what you think. But my analogy is that, like, when you're driving down a road, I don't know if you have your driver's license or not, but when you're driving down a road, there's 3 lanes, right? And it doesn't matter which lane you get in. There's always gonna be people behind you, and there's always going to be people in front of you. There's always somebody going slower, and there's always someone going faster. Like, you can try to be the slowest person in the road, and there's going to be somebody even slower than you. Or you could try to be the fastest person in the road, and there's going to be somebody that drives right past you. So it's almost like comparing yourself. There's always going to be people doing more or less. You just got to focus about your own lane. Oh, well, fuck. Damn it. I thought I was doing good. Yeah, that was fun. Listen, let me tell you this. This is how I know that the universe must hate my analogies. I told you earlier in the episode, I was like, I create the worst analogies, right? And right as I'm about to, but let me tell you, I mean, right as I'm about to tell you the analogy, the Zoom just kicks you out.
That's messed up.
I'm scared to even try it again because I feel like you're just going to get kicked out again if I try to say it again. Might be forcing it. I don't know.
I kind of want to hear it.
Okay, well, I'll say it, and you know what I mean? You imagine it's really bad, like all that build up for nothing. All right, let's do it. Did you get to hear anything? Did you get to hear anything from when where did it cut off for you?
Imagine you're driving down a road.
That's where it cut off?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty good place for it. Okay. Imagine you're driving down the road, right? And it doesn't matter which lane you pick, right, in the road. There's always going to be somebody driving faster than you, and there's always going to be somebody driving slower than you. Always. I've noticed that, like, even me driving myself. Like, sometimes I want to drive really fast, and I get on the left lane, right? There's, like, I could be going 100 miles per hour. There's always somebody, like, right behind you, like, oh, you're driving too slow. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going 100. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then you have to get out of the lane. But then you could be like really tired. I don't want to drive fast. I want to drive slow. And then you go to the right lane and you're driving really, really slow. There's someone in front of you that's even slower than you. So it's like you can't, if you compare yourself to the other cars in the road, you're always going to feel dissatisfied. There's always someone going faster. There's always someone going slower. And that's my point.
But you know what's beautiful?
Yes.
Everybody still gets to their destination.
Oh my goodness. And that's the way we're going to wrap up this episode. It couldn't have been a better fucking way to end it, even though the Zoom ended prematurely. Perfect way to put it, man. This was such a fucking good episode. I think this might be the longest episode I've done in 2 years, probably. I love this episode. Listen. Usually I end these episodes at around an hour, and I looked at the time when it was an hour, and I'm like, I'm not ending this shit right now. It's too much good shit going on.
How long has it been? I can't even tell.
About 92 minutes it's been since we've done this episode. Usually I try to keep it 45 to an hour, but so much good shit on this episode. Listen, whenever you're in Philly, you have to come do the podcast in person. Because, if we do it in person, it's not going to randomly cut off. That's the benefit of that. So I can't wait. And oh man, this is such a good episode. But yeah, I would love to have you back again, even if it's Zoom, because this went well despite the slight technical difficulties. The audio, sounded right. It didn't sound bad. So I'm pretty satisfied with how this went.
I'm so grateful to be here.
No
by
problem.
The way.
I appreciate you a lot for doing this episode. This was a great episode. I guess anything you want to plug, I'll put it at the description. If there's anything you want to plug, I'll put your Instagram, obviously, your clothing brand. Is there anything else out there where people can follow you or find you?
I think that's good.
Okay. Well, all of those things are going to be in the description of this episode. Lexa, thank you so much for doing this episode. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot the last part of this podcast. We play a song chosen by the guests to end this episode. And Lexa, what song did you choose?
Forgot. Big Wide Body by
By So Gone, So Flexy, which is a great
So
rap
Gone
name.
So Flexy. I've been chilling with
That's
that
how you
song lately.
So Gone, So Flexy. That sounds like a Dominican rapper name.
So Gone So Flexy.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you guys next week. You can hear that, right? We're just going to vibe out. We're just going to let it just decompress from that episode.